Hello everyone and welcome to my thoughts and impressions of the Touken Ranbu Warriors demo. I think this one's going to be quite interesting, so let's take a look. The very first thing that you're probably going to notice is the fact that this game is in Japanese. So why is that? Well, this is Touken Ranbu Warriors, and it's a typical 1 vs 1000 Musou or Warriors style game. Very similar to the likes of Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors, One Piece Pirate Warriors, and the list goes on. So why is it in Japanese? Well, I've never really done this before on any console or system that I've owned, but I decided to make a Japanese Nintendo Switch account. This game is coming to the West and we are getting a translated version of it, although without an English dub, in late May. But they decided to only release the demo for it on the Japanese eShop. That means that if you've got an English Nintendo Switch account, you won't be able to access it. It's actually really easy to do. You just go to the Nintendo website and make sure you're signed out. Then you just create a new Nintendo account using a new username, a new password, and a different email from the one that you use for your standard account. All you have to do is select Japan as your region when creating the account, then go to your Switch, make a new user, and link that user to the new account you just made, and there you go. The cool thing is, you can have both active on the one Switch console. Whenever you do anything related to the Japanese side of things, just select the Japanese user that you made. You guys know how the Nintendo Switch always asks you which user is going to be playing the game you've selected, or it asks you which user is going to be using the eShop? Well, if you want to use the English eShop, just use your English account when it asks you, and if you want to see the Japanese eShop, just select the Japanese user you created. It's surprisingly simple to do, and it does unlock a few things that we normally don't have access to, like this demo. Obviously, you won't be able to read a lot of the stuff you're seeing in the Japanese eShop, but there are a lot of games out there where it simply doesn't matter. Also, if you ever want to buy something on the Japanese eShop, it's best to buy those Japanese yen prepaid cards. You can sometimes use a credit or debit card, but as far as I'm aware, they often don't work. I think the banks block it or something. But the advantage to using a prepaid card is that it's just some numbers on the back that you type into your Switch, and that's universal across all languages on the Switch, so it's relatively easy to do. And of course, if you just get lost while you're looking around all the different screens, just try to look up a screenshot from the eShop on Google and you should be able to find your way around. Plus, you can always leave me a question in the comments section and I'll try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. So I've personally never heard of Touken Ranbu before, but I did some research and it seems to be a free-to-play mobile and browser game that released in Japan only in 2015, and then it released worldwide in 2021. And as it turns out, you can actually play this right now in English on your PC or phones, which does include Android and iOS. I'm not really a fan of free-to-play stuff, as most of you know, so I have no real desire to play that, but I am very interested in the Warriors spin-off. The demo gives you a few small tutorial stages to play through, and it introduces you to the controls and combat mechanics. You get a selection of characters to use for each level, but a lot of the moves and attacks are locked off due to this whole thing being a tutorial. For example, you won't be able to use the Musou attack for any of the characters except the ones it gives you for that specific Musou tutorial. So I guess it is a very limited demo in that regard. It would have been really nice for them to just give us a single full mission and a few different characters to use with it, but whatever, it is what it is and it'll do, I suppose. It looks like the game has around 15 characters to choose from, but I would imagine there's some secret ones or something, some unlockables. I'm not really too sure or too familiar with Touken Ranbu in general, so please do let me know if you know there's other characters that we're just not seeing here. Maybe these are just the original characters that first came out when Touken Ranbu was a thing. I really have no idea, but this is a Koei Tecmo game, so I'll be sure to request a review code for it. That way I can go a lot more in depth with the game and really explain everything properly. Story-wise, I don't know much about it beyond this small section that I've taken from the website, which I'll quickly read for you. It just says the year is 2205. Revisionists seeking to change history have begun to attack the past. The Saniwa, who has been given the task of protecting history, heads back in time with the Touken Danshi, the fabled swords that have taken forms of powerful warriors. I mean, sure, okay, yeah, sounds kinda interesting, it'll be fun to see where it goes, but at this moment in time, I don't know anything past that, so I guess we'll have to leave this section here. In terms of combat, it's virtually identical to other Musou games. So Y is normal attacks, X is charge attacks, B is jump, and A is your Musou attack. You can also perform some special attacks by holding down R and then pressing a face button, or a partner attack by pressing ZR when it's available. As you probably noticed, I've been talking about the Switch and Nintendo this whole video, plus I just gave you the Switch controls layout. That's because this game is going to be a Nintendo Switch exclusive, and as far as I can see, there's no plans to bring this to another system at this point in time, so, be prepared for low resolution and 30 FPS at best. While playing this myself, it looked and felt pretty good to me in docked mode on my TV, even though I would have really liked to have seen this game at 60 FPS, I have to admit. It is exclusive to the Switch though, so there's nothing any of us can really do about it. It's one of those situations where if the performance bothers you, you simply have no alternative. Basically, you either get over it or you simply don't play it, which does kinda suck, but as I said, you literally have no other options. And honestly, there's not much more to say here. I mean, you can see the enemies have a skeletal or zombie-like appearance most of the time, and they work fine as fodder. They're absolutely fine to me. You can clash with an enemy and tap the button on the screen to overpower them for a finishing strike, and the Musou attacks are very flashy, over the top, and powerful as usual. There's also the partner attack move that you can do by pressing the right trigger. I don't know the official in-game term for the attack at the moment, but there's a small circular gauge on the left with your partner's face in it, and you can perform that attack whenever that gauge is full. So basically it's on a cooldown. It seems to me like the more you use this move, the more your bond with that character will grow, which I assume will unlock other bonuses down the line. You do see some sort of bond or friendship gauge at the end of the mission that teaches you the partner move, but I do have to wonder if you'll gain that bond and friendship XP by just fighting with them in general as well as using that move. I guess I'll just have to wait till I've got the full game in my hands to know for sure. You'll also have a small fox character named Konosuke who will guide you to your objective if you press up on the D-pad, and I imagine this will be much more important in the full game when it comes to navigation. I suppose it would be kinda nice to have an on-screen marker or character to follow instead of just looking at the map. Not that I have an issue with following maps in Musou or Warriors games, it's just I think the fox is a fun little addition. I also saw a few cutscenes in the demo, and to me, they seem to be very well done, and I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like a lot of spin-off Musou or Warriors games get a lot more care and attention than the mainline ones do. I mean, if you think about it realistically, it does make a lot of sense. After all, they're working with a lot of different IPs which contain a lot of well-loved characters that are important to a lot of people around the world. They really can't afford to screw with these franchises, and they really do have a responsibility to do right by them. So, of course, they give them much more consideration, and that leads to a better quality game. Unfortunately, these days they kinda use their own IPs such as Dynasty Warriors as a bit of a workhorse, being trotted out time after time, year after year, and arguably looking and feeling a bit worse for wear in the modern gaming landscape. It is definitely a shame to see a lot of the more popular and well-known IPs such as Dynasty Warriors getting so ground down over the years, not to mention changed into something that it's just kind of not. Having said that, I do like a lot of the spin-offs, and I thought Samurai Warriors 5 was actually pretty good, so who knows, maybe there is some hope left after all. To be honest, I quite enjoyed the demo. Sure, it's in Japanese and it is only a few tutorials, but it felt solid and quite well made. It looks fine and it runs fine, and considering that it's been built for the Switch from the ground up, it should play pretty well as well, although granted that's not always a recipe for success. I think the characters look pretty cool, and despite not knowing anything about the source material, I'm still looking forward to giving this one a go. I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people don't even know of this game's existence, let alone the fact that it's coming out in English at the end of May. I imagine most Warriors and Musou fans like myself probably do already know, but surely if they want these games to sell in the West, they should release an English demo at the very least. We do have a good few months until we get it though, so maybe they'll release an English demo closer to the time when they finalize the translations. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it turns out, but as a lifelong Warriors fan, I'll be checking out the full game and reviewing it on the channel regardless of if I get a review code or not. And so there you go, that's my first impressions of the Japanese Touken Ranbu Warriors demo. As I mentioned earlier, you can get this in the Japanese eShop right now, but you'll need a Japanese account to do so. The full game releases in English on May 24th, 2022. If you enjoyed the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel, and if you like what I do and want to offer your support, please check out the first link in the video description down below. But with all that said, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.